like myself. Woo, we're on live on Facebook, live on Instagram. It's your one and only goddess here, Rebel Jones. I am your hostess with the mostest here for Pink Talks, and you're watching Find Your ID NYC Pink Talks. Yes, that's right. Pink on the inside, pink on the outside. I ran out of pink clothing, but my lips are still popping with the shade of love. From the lip bar, we have the beautiful Dream Chaser, and that's why I'm chasing my dreams. More importantly, I'm living in my dreams because I'm living in the process. If you know, the progress continues to go on. And today, noon, which is very new for me because, you know, I'm a night bird, but we have the beautiful Em Roberts, blogger and podcast host. She's coming on. She's going to give you some insight. So if you have questions about monetizing, getting your life, getting your money right, now is the time to tune in because she's going to give us all that information. The Lipstick Fever. Welcome to the vibes. Doo-doo-doo. We're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. Here she is. Welcome.
Jamming out over here. You have like your music going. I am enjoying it.
Thank you so much for taking the time out today to join us. We know that you are an influencer, but we want to know more about you. So that's why we brought you on today. Do you have any products that you want to share with us, though? Any upcoming projects before we get into the Q&A?
I do. So I just so happen to have released a new podcast episode today with the best-selling author, Sarah Knight. She's amazing. She's been dubbed the anti-guru. So she's written a series of self-help books, but they're like very cheeky. They're very fun. She has come on the podcast and spoke with me. Her latest book release is called F No. We're not going to curse on the IG Live right now. But it's called F No, and it's all about setting boundaries, saying no, prioritizing, and like really honing in on what you value in your life as a woman. I feel like we all need help with this. So new episode is live. You can check us out on social at The Big Move Podcast, and there's a link in my bio to the most recent episode, so you can check it out.
Check out The Big Move.
Yes.
Tell me, why did you decide to call your podcast The Big Move?
So it's inspired by my move abroad. I am, as you said, I'm originally from Rhode Island in the Northeast. I moved over to London to the UK with my husband for his work. We've been here for 3 years. And I feel like it is in itself a big move. I feel like any move is a big move when you're talking moving to a new city or to a new country. So the Big Move podcast was, again, inspired by my move abroad. And it's really evolved to also encompass women that have made big moves in their careers. So it's a motivating, inspiring resource for women who are taking risks, making moves in their lives, both professionally and personally. So that's the premise and the name of the podcast.
Tell me, you have a blog called The Lipstick Fever. Why The Lipstick Fever? And did it start off with the fever?
With the favorite. I love it. So this was, I guess, 5 years and change ago. I was living in New York City and I was working in digital media, specifically in ad tech. But I had always loved fashion and styling. I had always loved all things beauty. And I was really looking for a creative outlet, which is why I started my blog and my Instagram. I launched both at the same time. And the name really came from that idea of, and that feeling of like getting ready for like a Friday or Saturday night out with your girlfriends, throwing on like a bold lip to kind of transform your look, but also just like give you confidence and kind of change your overall attitude. So that's kind of where the name came from.
I mean, I could definitely resonate. As a kid, I loved playing in makeup, and it wasn't a thing for my mom, but it was definitely a thing for me. And now as a young adult, I still see it as a time to kind of go through my self-therapy and express how I feel about my outer self. So that's really cool. Could you tell us Yes, it's the live bar, dream chaser, and chasing my dreams, going after it for sure.
I like it.
So because we are a female platform, all-female platform, we want to know how can women in this industry and pretty much just being an influencer, how do we make money off of being an influencer? Some of that stuff is like kind of taboo.
100%. And I'm an open book because why not? I think we need to support each other. And so monetizing your blog as a content creator, there's a few different ways. And so the probably number one way is through brand collaborations. So a brand will come to you with a campaign brief. Maybe it's a launch for a new product. And truly that content creator, that blogger is fulfilling that brief, a media brief, if you will. And so you might operate on a fixed fee or you might operate on a commission basis. That's something that you would work out with the brand itself. So that's a big way is brand collaborations. And then the other second big way I would say is affiliate networks. So when content creators and bloggers are sharing their outfits, sharing their beauty products, their homeware, whatever it is, they will link out to a affiliate link and they will be able to make commission off of those links on social media. So when you're swiping up on a product, that's an affiliate link right there. So those are two big ways. And then I think the third way, and I think this really evolves as time goes on, and I think we're seeing this with so many of the big influencers out there. We Wore What, Ariel from Something Navy, they're launching their own product lines. And maybe they're doing so with another retailer or they're doing so themselves. So launching a product, writing books. There's so many kind of avenues that you can go down. But I think those are kind of some of the biggest ways.
Much for sharing that. What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you stay tuned because there's still so much information and how you can make money being an influencer, being a blogger, and creating your own business where you can flourish all of your talent and all of your skills. And we're going to find all that information out from M. Roberts. Thank you so much again for being here. I'm so grateful for you. So I want to know, you're a new mom. Congratulations. Yeah. How are you enjoying motherhood and being an entrepreneur?
I am slowly but surely getting in a groove. I mean, I'm enjoying it so much. I love being a mom. You never know what it's going to look and feel like until you are in it. And my baby boy, Parker, is 3 months old. It goes by really fast, as they say. So I'm trying to just take it slow, I suppose, from a business standpoint, getting back into my content creation, getting back into podcasting. I feel like slow and steady wins the race. And when you're a new mom, you just kind of have to figure out what works best for you, which is exactly what I am doing. So yeah, this has been actually a really great time to come and chat with you and kind of like recollect my thoughts, if you will.
Agree. As a new mom myself for 2 under 2, it's a blessing, and it's also a great challenge to pull out the strength that is within me. Getting to know myself as a young woman versus getting to know myself as a young 20-year-old who wants to go to the bar every night.
I can't handle one. So kudos to you. Kudos. They mean it.
A village of support, it really is necessary. There are times when I have to remind myself not to use my village as a crunch, but more so as like on a need by need basis, right? So monetizing, right? There's some myths out there. So I'm going to give you 3 myths and you'll let me know if it's a myth or not a myth. So here's one. Is it a myth or not a myth for followers to have, for beauty influencers or bloggers to have tons of followers, such as 50K, in order for brands to actually notice them? Myth or no myth? No myth.
Complete myth. Complete myth. In fact, I think you are in a stronger position as a micro influencer, as somebody with a niche audience, versus somebody with maybe 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is. Brands want you to have high engagement rates. So it's all about having that highly engaged audience. So rather than being super concerned about how many followers you have, because I get it, it's really tough to grow, especially right now. Try not to be so fixated on that number. Be fixated on the engagement that you have with your audience and, the amount of people that are liking and commenting. You want to put engaging content out there and you want your engagement rate to be high. And so I think that's what it's all about. So whether you have 1,000 followers, 5, 10, that is totally fine. You can 100% work with brands and you can provide value through your content, through your engaged community.
Okay, I wanted to add on to the question, so sub-question. Yeah. What about people who come to bloggers and they're not a legit business and they want you to sort of buy their product, review it, and you only get a discount if other people buy it? Is that something that you would recommend to people who are starting off, or do you say, warning, don't do that, it's not worth your time?
I think when it comes to any opportunity that comes your way, any brand that's approaching you, any business that's approaching you, it's just all about doing your own research and looking into that brand. They have to be a fit for you and they have to be a fit for your audience. So I don't get as much so bogged down with, is it, commission? Is it affiliate basis? Is it a fixed rate? Whatever it is, just always do your due diligence and look into that brand and make sure that it makes sense. I mean, you absolutely need to just do your research. So I would say that's the biggest thing I would recommend.
Okay, myth or no myth? Most of the time, people who are brand ambassadors are also purchasing their own products. Myth or no myth?
I'd say both. I would say absolutely both. I think you and I were talking about this earlier. It is such an organic and natural fit if you are already a customer of that brand. And then let's say as a content creator or a blogger, you then approach that brand, you have that nugget in your pocket of, hey, I already use your moisturizer, I already use your lipstick, I'm a big fan. I'd love to be a part of your next campaign, upcoming launch. I'd love to send some ideas your way. So it's definitely only a strength if you have already bought, already purchased that product. But then again, I've also worked with brands that I just hadn't discovered yet, or maybe they, they're coming my way talking to me about like a new serum, and I just simply haven't heard of them. There are so many brands out there, especially in the beauty world, especially in the fashion world. It's insane. So it is likely that maybe you haven't used their product, but again, digging into the brand, making sure that you think it could be a good fit for you, and it's an easy way to do that by looking into the brand, checking out their social profile, checking out like who their customer is, going on their website, reading reviews about their products, and then always ask to try out a product before you're going to endorse it. I think it goes without saying, but yes. I think it is something to reiterate, especially if you are starting out.
Yeah. So myth or no myth? Most of the time, followers are only following the bloggers because they're good looking.
Complete myth. Complete myth. I mean, you need to be providing value It's not just about being a pretty face. It's not just about having an amazing outfit. It's taking it a step further, providing value to people. And Instagram and social media is saturated more than ever. So you can bet those people that are driving that value, driving education, having a unique point of view and having a voice and something to say are going to stick out, rather than, just, having a pretty face. So I would say
yes. Thank you for clearing some of those things up, because I know that a lot of hearsay goes around and it's taken as fact, and most of the time it's not. So for someone who's already in this industry, you have the facts, and so that's why we're glad that you were able to answer it. So I want to know, of course, as far as your viewers, do you feel like you have a wide range of viewers in the US, or is it most of your viewers in the UK?
Yeah, so most of my audience is still US based. So I started my Instagram and my blog, I suppose it was like 5 years and change, 5 years ago when I was in New York. And so the bulk of my following is very much US based. But with that said, I've been over in the UK now for 3 years. So my UK following has certainly grown, which is amazing. And I've also done a lot of European travel, and I like to post where I go and travel from. And I think that's a good way, obviously, to get followers. You'll see the travel bloggers that do an amazing job at this, posting their content from all over the world, and geotagging and accumulating people from different places. So that's what's been pretty cool about this experience. So it's definitely a split, but I have a strong NYC following. So yeah.
So how do you engage with your audience?
Totally. So it's an everyday grind. It never stops. The biggest way is engaging on social media. So any of the content that you're putting out there, responding to every comment, responding to every DM, that is so important. Your audience is everything. So you need to cater to them, and you need to respond to them, and you need to be thoughtful, because the content you're putting out there is for them, and you're nothing without your audience. You're nothing without your community. So on a daily basis, just talking to my followers, engaging with them on the content that I put out there, putting podcast episodes out there, trying to start conversations online around it. And it's easier said than done. It's a lot of work. I definitely have not mastered it, but I think just taking the time to respond to people.
Deal with anxiety before like launching your podcast or launching maybe some of the content that you're creating. Like, and you mentioned earlier that there are a lot of people commenting, and there's a lot of pressure. Like, when is this going to drop? How is this going to drop? And I know that as audience, as a consumer, sometimes we forget that you're a human being that happens to have a skill set at influencing people to try new things. But how do you deal with that pressure?
It's really hard. It comes with time, honestly. I've been doing, the blog, the Instagram for 5 years. That's a lot of time. So I've gotten a lot more comfortable. And I definitely have a side to me that's introvert and shy, and I get anxious about things that I'm putting out there because it's all about vulnerability. So it's really, really challenging. It comes with time. It comes with practice. The more that you put out into the universe, I feel like the more that you get more comfortable, the more that comes back to you. So I think just time and practice, but it's hard. I have days where I might put something out there, or I might record a podcast episode where I'm like, I bombed it. Like I wasn't feeling confident today. I wasn't feeling good about myself today. And that's really hard. But on the flip side, I have days where I feel strong. But I think those days kind of power you through the days where you might be having a hard time.
Yes. I want to know, because there's so much talk around the beauty industry, right? I myself, as a brown-skinned woman, for so many years wearing makeup, and I would say so many, but it's really not that many years. I started wearing makeup in like maybe after high school. And it wasn't as hard to find what I was looking for because I didn't always know what I was looking for. Now the market has expanded and there are more brown-skinned women wearing makeup. Do you have a diverse following?
That's a great question. I like to think that I do, but I can't say for sure. I track all of my statistics on 4Card, which is a great platform that does kind of show you that breakdown. But it's a great question, and it's something that I am always striving to expand. I think it's so important to have a diverse platform. With that said, I do have my podcast, and I've had guests with different ethnicities coming on the podcast and speaking about their journeys. So I also try to have the females that come on my podcast be as diverse as possible. We're completely open, and we welcome women of all races to come on and speak.
Absolutely. If I were to, and I'm still a new listener to your content, what do you hope that I gain from your content?
I hope that you gain true insight, especially from the podcast standpoint. And that's why I started this, so that I could have women come on and share their stories and their journeys and share tips for success and advice around their careers and how they've gotten to where they've gotten. So I hope you leave with those tips, and I hope you leave with like a jolt of energy. I hope that it inspires people, and it's the podcast world has given me so much inspiration just from the different shows that I listen to and the different women that I hear on these podcasts and these different episodes. And so in turn, I hope that my podcast is giving the same exact thing to my audience and to my followers.
You heard that. Make sure you go check out the podcast and make sure that you follow her. It's The Lipstick Fever, okay? And tell them what the podcast name is.
The Big Move Podcast on Instagram.
The Big Move, because in life, it's important to make those big moves. It might be terrifying, taking a risk, doing something that you've never done before, or not being able to see what the other side is going to offer you. But if you know within your heart that you're capable and you're willing to move forward, you just got to go with it. I mean, you were once an infant and now you're an adult. And so you've made it from there to here. Therefore, you can make it and go anywhere. We have so much more questions, but I want to know more about some of the episodes from your podcast. What are some of the topics that some of us who haven't been able to listen to it, what did we miss? Put us on.
Ooh, okay, I love it. So I have female entrepreneurs and founders across all verticals that come on and share their journey. And so a lot of them are founders of brands, so beauty brands and fashion brands. And what I really try to stick to is talking about career journey, what motivates these people, why they have found success in whatever they are doing. So they are women kind of across the board. I'm having different authors on. So the author I mentioned earlier, Sarah Knight. I have another author coming up, Cara Alwill from the Champagne Diet, who's also a blogger. So these are women that are kind of jack of all trades. They're doing it all. They're, maybe content creators, and they're brand owners, and they're authors, and they're life coaches. So you can certainly show up to get motivational tips, career advice, but then also some like fashion and beauty quips. And we'll share things that we're just like loving and that kind of thing too. And as well, they're women from all over the world. So being that I'm here in London, I've met women from Australia, from New Zealand. They're not just from the UK, they're from all over. And as well, I have women from New York that come on too. So utilizing my network that I have built back up in New York, having those women come on, especially during COVID, where I'm speaking with people remote. I'm talking to a lot of women from my network that are back in New York City too. So that's been awesome.
Oh, doesn't that feel good? I mean, as a young woman myself, I'm super excited to take advantage of our current event and also to push and drive and motivate other people in my circle as well as people I haven't met yet to do the right thing, not just for themselves, right? Because we've been focusing on ourselves for some time now, even for those of us who are still dealing with trauma and trying to figure out this whole new wave of career. Like, it's such a big deal for us to say that we can come on this live, influence you to do the right thing. And that is our job. Like that's a big game changer. Though there are things that are still taking place in the world that hasn't changed for over 50 years, there is still some progress. And I think as long as we continue to focus in on that progress that we're making, we can expand that progress across the globe, and we together can do amazing things. Now, speaking about amazing things, how do you deal with your schedule, with your baby, the podcast, and creating content for these brands?
family, and we're figuring it out. The current climate, my husband is working from home, so that's been helpful in that, like, he can take the baby for an hour while I record a podcast. Right now, he's taking the baby for a walk. So I think you figure out what works best for you. We're truly juggling, and we're truly just trying to like balance it all and multitask. But with that said, I want to focus on my baby, and I want to be a good mom. And so again, I'm 3 months in. You know better than me. Why don't you give me some tips?
Well, I'll give you 3, and I'm not going to don't take it. Every child is different. I would just say to be patient with yourself. A baby who's hungry usually show you 3 signs. Hands on the mouth, things in their mouth means that I might be hungry. A cry means I'm starving, or the diaper's dirty, or that I just want to talk a whole bunch of crap because, I can. So between those,
Totally.
That's usually the signals. Breastfeeding is everything. For me, I know some parents may struggle physically, and some parents might not have the patience to do it, or just super busy to where stopping to pump or stopping their lifestyle to join this new lifestyle might be challenging. But I encourage it because the kind of bonding and connection and the ability to provide for your child is it's just motivating and invigorating at the same time. So just how can I say what my fiance says? You're gonna be okay. You got this. Believe in yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, because this is a new chapter that you're still writing. It hasn't even been fully published yet. So allow yourself that time to make mistakes. Always talk to your child. My daughter's only 2, my son is 6 months. So talk to your children like young adults, but giving them the words to express how they feel, but don't baby them, because they're not going to be babies forever, and you don't want them to develop and stay stuck in certain areas of development. So I definitely recommend teaching them what you want them to know so that they can be greater and better than you. That is my message
advice.
About that.
I love that advice.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little insight about the business. How can one be prepared? Right? I'm a beauty blogger. I'm interested in showcasing people's work. I think I'm really good with editing. I look good on the camera. That's my idea of myself, hypothetically. And I want to know, but how do I get prepared? How do I reach out to these brands and get them to notice me and know that I'm capable of bringing them the clientele that they need?
Yeah, totally. I think one of the biggest ways is promoting said brand that you want to work with organically. And so tagging them and doing organic stories. Maybe you're getting ready for the day, do a get ready with me, and tag all the brands, products that you're using. That's the biggest way. I can't say that enough. It's like cross collaborating is so key. So tagging those brands in a really organic way will, one, just catch their attention, get you noticed, and then from there you can start a conversation. So whether it's reaching out and sending a DM, sending an email with your media kit. You have to have a media kit, or at least a 1-sheet. Arguably a 1-sheet would be better, because we are all so busy. We don't necessarily have time, or brands and PRs, to be looking through like a 10-slide deck. I could take a note from this myself. Have a 1-sheet with just like who you are, your stats, some example content. And that's a great way to start a conversation, and just let them know that you're interested. So it's really just being proactive and putting yourself out into the ether. It's easier said than done, but I would start out by organically tagging on Instagram, and then make a list of the brands that you want to reach out to, and then just go for it. There's nothing to lose by reaching out and showing them that you want to work with them.
Ooh, that's right. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. Thank you all for tuning in. We're here with our major interview in that noon. This is so new for me. I'm used to being the night stalker. I have my champagne or some wine or something, and I'm looking at the baby with daddy I'll be there in 5 minutes, but really I mean an hour.
Yeah, so, thank you for doing this at a kind of an off time, I guess, for you guys. So I appreciate that.
Right. So you're in the UK right now. It's actually around 6 o'clock, right? 5?
Almost 5:30. It's almost happy hour here. So.
Almost happy hour. Well, enjoy that happy hour. I know I definitely will go out today and enjoy my happy hour.
I love it.
But I want to open up the floor, or should I say the virtual floor, for any questions from our viewers. Thank you again for staying on and watching, everyone. But this is a great time to ask some great questions if you're interested in being an entrepreneur or being a blogger or even a podcast host. Now is the time to ask those questions. Facebook fam, don't sleep on us. Definitely ask those questions. Send it in.
Yes, please do.
While they're typing away, I want to know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you still going to be blogging and influencing us to do the right thing?
That is a good question. I think so, but my hope is in 5 years that I'm working on a few other projects, whether that is launching a product in the beauty realm. That is certainly a goal for me. So whether it's my own or whether it's syncing up with someone else within my network and launching something, I'm really, really passionate about the beauty industry, especially skincare and especially lip care, lipstick, if you couldn't tell. So so that would be hopefully a goal. And then as well, I love the business side of everything that comes along with blogging and content creation. So brand strategy and consultancy is something that I definitely am thinking about down the road. So I think what's so cool about now being a content creator or a blogging or, you know, having an Instagram profile in general is like you can literally launch off and really do anything from there. I think it's just about building up, you know, that audience, that community, that content in whichever field you want to be in. And from there, I just think there's so many possibilities.
Thank you. Yes. So we have some questions here from the High Priestess of Brooklyn. What's up, High Priestess of Brooklyn? I'm from BK too. What's up? What was the hardest part about quitting your job and starting the side of hustle, FT, full time?
What is it? The hardest part of quitting my job?
Yeah. So what were you doing before blogging, and what was the transition like?
Yeah, so I worked in digital media. So pretty much the entire time I was in New York, which was like for 6 years. Alex, hi. And so I was in ad tech, and it taught me so much from a business standpoint, from a client relationship standpoint. I learned so much. I met such amazing people. But I needed that creative outlet, and that's really why I ended up kind of pivoting and leaving. But I have to say, like, again, I learned so much from a business perspective, and I think I brought a lot of that knowledge into what I'm doing now. But I think the hardest part is taking that jump and leaving that cushy salary, really, because when you're freelancing and you're working for yourself, like, you just don't know. It is a risk. You have to start somewhere. And so that's why I started mine kind of simultaneously. And then I built it up so that I was able to then support myself after full time.
So what are the tools that you had to invest into in order to make your blog successful?
Cool. So actual tools like technology?
Yeah,
totally. So when I first started out, launching an Instagram obviously takes nothing. You need a phone. But I think having a website is and was very important, especially 5 years ago. People were still reading long form articles. That has since changed, but I do think it's important to have a website. So Squarespace is a really easy to use tool for creating your own website. They have templates. It's not super expensive. You can launch a website there. So Squarespace. And then obviously social and Instagram is massive, and like keeping an eye on your stats and your insights and being really in tune to all of those numbers is just super, super important. So you don't need much. The other thing I would say is obviously if you're shooting content, equipment, but then again, I shoot all my iPhone now. So if I am shooting a campaign, I might shoot with a photographer and I might invest in that particular project. But a lot of what we can do can literally be shot on an iPhone. Video can be shot on an iPhone, and then it can be spruced up using all these different video apps. InShot is a great one, a great video editing app. And then the Teza app is amazing. I'm sure you all know Teza out there. Massive New York City influencer, content creator. She does it all. She has an app, and you can edit your photos and you can edit your videos. And it costs like next to nothing. So
Wow, that's awesome. We also have a question here from Jamila on Facebook, our Facebook family. She asks, how do you build your audience?
It's a tough one. I mean, it takes time, and it takes just continuing to put your content out there, putting your content out there. Specifically, I would say use hashtags. Hashtags are great. And although the algorithm in Instagram has changed so much, I do still think there's a lot of visibility and discoverability through using hashtags. So it's really worth just taking the time to do your own research, search for hashtags that are relevant to your content that you're putting out there, and use them. And then engage with other people, other like-minded content creators and bloggers within your vertical or within your field, and just try to build up that community like very organically. So like I said, it takes time. It takes a lot of like time investment. But I would say that's the biggest way.
To answer, in addition to what you're saying, and as a producer and director and host, I would highly recommend to you, Jamila, and to anyone watching, in order to build your audience, show up to events, show up to your friends' events, support your friends that are doing multiple things. Don't just fixate on audiences who are interested in makeup if that's what you're showcasing. Go out to the doctors and reach out to the healthcare providers. Get to know them and bring them in and have content ready, right? Don't, like myself, I'm still working on content for Living in the Process. I'm here on Pink NYC, but the consistency and going out and meeting people in person and driving them into your space will allow you to increase your viewers. And also, like Em said earlier, make sure that you're engaging. You're responding to your DMs. You're responding to your messages and such, because that's going to let people know that you're a real human being and you're not just putting out content to gain followers and make money, but to really connect with people. And if that's not your thing, then you will find another way. Yeah, for sure.
I love that. I think in person it's so important. Even if you're like at a cookout on a weekend, like you got to be, we're in the business of selling ourselves. So you have to speak up and you have to spread the word about your platforms and talk about it with confidence. And like people will respond to that.
Absolutely. And make sure you take time out for yourself. Now, there was a question earlier, and I don't want to miss it, from Christian Bird. She asks, since your blog is called The Lipstick Fever, do you have a go-to lipstick?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. So right now, so MAC makes like the best lipstick. I'm wearing one right now. It is called, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. Kinda Sexy. This is called Kinda Sexy. It's a matte, and they have like some amazing mattes, and they're lightweight out as well. And then I like to layer like a lip gloss over it. I have a lip gloss on from Wander Beauty right now. So MAC, Wander Beauty, Kosas. I love their products and their lipsticks. And then I would also say NARS makes an awesome one. So there's so many, but those are probably my go-tos.
I want to chime in and say that right now, this is my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
The lip bar. This is the Lip Bar Dream Chaser.
I love it.
Can you tell? Yeah. This is just launched recently, but I'm really more so into browns and purples and just colors that really look good on my skin. So for me, it's more about polishing than it is about putting a mask on. So,
totally. I love it. It's all about consistency too. I love it.
Yes. I have another question. Anyone else have questions? Feel free to chime in on this conversation. We want to hear back from you all. What is something you want to learn from Em? Because she is the go-to, and she is a trailblazer at this point, and we want to learn from you. We want to learn from you for sure. So send in your questions, because we're about to exit out, because we both have families to attend to. We cannot neglect our families. Without our families, we would not be who we are today.
Yes,
so totally. Send in those questions, all right? And while we're waiting for you all to send your questions, I'm going to ask, how are you supporting and influencing people to become part of the No Police Brutality?
That's a great question. I think with everything with Black Lives Matter, I think it's putting out what you're comfortable with, and just spreading positivity. And that's what my platforms are all about. So really for me, it's just about being positive, and being open and like learning and being educated during this time. So
Yes, being educated is important. Otherwise, you'll be calling out all these names and titles of people and wrongfully accusing them for something that they didn't do, versus just making sure you know who your true ally is and who your true enemy is as well. As a nation, we have to look at that. And as influencers and as a host here on Pink NYC, I support women, I support men, but right now we're talking about supporting women. And in the way that you can support women is by saying nice things, like using the 5 love languages. Touch, if you know them, don't be fresh. And affirmations and saying nice things to us women, because we do create children. We bring them forth here into this world, and being kind and being supportive of businesses, Black-owned businesses, all nationalities businesses, supporting them by giving them feedback, by saying where they can do better in your feedback, giving constructive criticism, and also just sharing their content and sharing their craft with other people, and asking questions. Right, whenever you ask questions, it can't hurt. It can only help the business. So that's really, really important as well. And tell us, what can we look forward to with the lipstick fever? What is to come? How should we get excited? Like, what's going on with you? What's new?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, for me, it's the blog and my Instagram is really, it's a personal journey. It's following your life. Like a lot of content creators, I'm sure, can relate to this. So I'm a new mom. And so I'm just, as I said before, like trying to figure it all out, and I'll share tips and things and my life along the way. And hopefully it can inspire other people. So I would say on that note, just fresh content, new content coming up with beauty brands that I'm really excited about. And then I would say too, with the podcast, I've had such amazing female guests, but there are so many more to come. So stay tuned. There's 2 upcoming New York City influencers and authors, content creators that are absolutely killing it. And they are coming on the podcast. So within the next couple of months, those episodes will be up and live, and a lot more to come on the podcast front. So just stay tuned, and hopefully you guys will get some good value out of it.
That's right. You heard it here live on Instagram and live on Facebook. And you are doing a phenomenal job. You keep doing what you're doing and inspiring us to do more than just what our society kind of led us to believe we can do. We're women, we're capable, and we're pink on the inside as we are on the outside. This is Pink Talks, Rebel Jones. We're here with M. Roberts. Thank you for tuning in. And make sure you go follow her at the Lipstick Fever. I'm talking about the fever. We don't want a fever.
I love it.
COVID.
I love it. We don't want the fever. We want the
We
fever.
don't want it.
Thank you
we
so
want
much.
the fever that makes you shake. Oh, we have one more question. So before we go, let's answer this question.
Okay.
Is there, my headphones fell out, you guys. Is there any advice that you've gotten from a guest on your podcast that you would like to share? Very good question, Christian.
Ooh, there's so many. I'm always sharing 2 quotes on the Big Move podcast page, and I always like to highlight those quotes. So I'm trying to think of one that is really sticking out in my mind. I would say from my most recent episode is Sarah Knight, this author of her series called The No F's Giving Guides. She really hones in on figuring out what is important to you. So prioritizing those things that are important to you, whether it's your family life, your professional life, prioritize those things, and everything else kind of can fall to the wayside, because there are only so many hours in the day and we can't do it all. So I think like reflecting and thinking on those things can help us all as women, especially, like prioritize everything else that comes our way a bit better. I hope that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Prioritize, strategize, and being yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stick to this one character, because we're always evolving. So as you evolve, continue to shape shift who you want to be and showcase that with love, light, and grace. And
Love it. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yes, I really hope that it was. I'm super, super grateful for you being here. Everyone, I hope that you've learned something. I know I did. I'm excited to make my brand, my candle business grow with the information that Em has provided with us here today. And more importantly, you stay blessed, Stay graceful. Take care of that beautiful 3-month-old baby boy. He's so lucky to have you as a mom. Continue to build. Generational wealth, y'all. Rebel Jones, Pink NYC Talks. We'll see you soon this Sunday. Peace.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.